Hey there, I'm Deep Singh, and in this video we are going over how to create, build and deploy your own app, Shopify app with Shopify Functions. Now this video works independently of if you're using a Ruby CLI template or the Node CLI template or any of my repos or any custom repo. Because this works with extensions, we can actually spin it out in its own repository. But in this one, we are using one of my repositories and building it from there. And of course, we're using JavaScript to build the Shopify function. So this way, it's very approachable. We can, build whatever you want. And this is not run-of-the-mill following one of the Shopify tutorials. We're going over how to actually create a good Shopify function, right? So I'm using one of my repositories. Like I said, this is the Next.js repo. You can use any of my repos, the official CLI templates. I just prefer mine because, well, it's pretty straightforward for me, and this is based on how I like it. So let's head in and create a new app. Let's call it Functions Next.js app. And copy the client ID. I'm going to replace with the existing values. Yeah, I already have a bunch of stuff like all the npm packages installed, so we can skip over that. Let's run a new ngrok instance. We're going to copy this, replace, npm run update URL. This automatically updates all of the URLs that we need for the Shopify app. Okay. Let's head into app setup. We can confirm it's all set up properly. Now we run npx prisma db push. This is using Prisma, so this is just updating the database to get up to speed. Now the one thing that we don't have is scopes. Now in this video we are creating a new order discount functions. So this requires us to add in certain scopes that I'm adding in. And write discounts. We don't need the read products because we have the write products thing. So write underscore products and write underscore discounts on this. Now we run clear npm run dev. All right. So let's install the app. Right. This goes in, install the app, and this should work completely as expected. Okay, so now we have this installed. What we're going to do is we're going to open up a new terminal. I'm just opening up the package JSON just to show what's happening in the background. Now, in all of my repositories, I have these as npm scripts. If you're using the official CLI template or whatever it is, you can just run these commands. I have it kind of set up for me properly. npm run se create. And this kind of runs Shopify app generate extension. Now in the functions here, we create a new function for order discount. We press enter, we call it order discount function. We create this in JavaScript, and now we let it install its own dependencies. Now while this is happening, let's open up a new tab and let's head over to shopify.dev. And let me now explain how functions actually work. So in API reference docs, let's go to API functions and overview. Now, functions work in a very straightforward way. We don't have to really understand a lot here. So a function has three parts to it. One is your input. Let's actually increase this. The other is your actual function running, which is processing whatever you have built up. And then you have your output, which is also called function result. Okay, so now what happens is you first define an input.graphql file. Again, all of this is already set up for you because we are using the actual extension templates. So you don't really have to worry too much about these things, but it's kind of good to know about what's actually happening in the background. Oops, this should be in a bracket. Okay, so at first you have an input. And this is the input that you tell Shopify that, hey, I want exactly these fields. Now, now Shopify follows this input and gives you that exactly in the function. Now, in your function, you have the input kind of running in a function. So you then import the input variable. And then you kind of run all of your processing there. So whether it's running like permutation combinations, whatever it is that you want your function to do, and then we head over to output. And Shopify expects the output to be in a very specific format, which is where the function results come in. So that is installed, and now what's going to happen is you're going to have a new folder called extensions order discount, and in your src you have this available. So let's actually break it down about what's happening. Input.graphql is the content that you're actually getting, right? Which means that in your index.js, in your src, this input is structured the exact same way as your input.graphql. So this is exactly what you're getting when you query your input. Now, src/index.js is where we'll be running all of our processing, and the function result, which is the actual output, is already defined for us, so we don't have to worry about what is expected. So function result is how Shopify expects the output to look like. Now the question here is what my input should be, what is available, what's not available, which is where we kind of come into our Shopify reference. Now here we're creating a new order discount, so let's actually head into discounts. Whoops, I ended up in the wrong place, my bad on this. So that's APIs and references, view all, where's functions, overview, it's in API references. We are looking at the discount API, the order discount, and overview, right? So here we are more concerned with the order discount API reference. We head in here. Now we're clicking on these, the first input and the first function result. Now in input, I have these available, right? So let's head back to input.graphql. We can see that discount node is already set up for us. Let's not mess with that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new 50% discount if the order value is above like 500, right? So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to create the cart object, and we're following it exactly the way it's kind of set up here, right? So then we click on cart, and then we have buyer identity, cost, delivery groups, lines. We need the cost. So let's add in cost as an object. Whoops. Right, now we head into cart cost. Now we have subtotal amount, total duty amount, and total tax amount. Here we need the subtotal amount, which is before taxes and discounts, because I want to apply the discount first. Now, of course, you can always use the total amount, but here I want discount before we head in. It's the exact same way if you're using total amount, but let's kind of head in here. And so for this, I'll run subtotal amount. Let's just format it. Okay, it's not wanting to format right now. Now it's money v2, which means it's going to have amount and currency code, which means here you're going to have amount. Whoops. You're going to have amount, and you're going to have, actually, let's not pull in the currency code. And there you go. Now we have the query input the way we want it to be, right? Which means my input.cart.cost.subtotalamount.amount is a decimal. Now, of course, we're getting all of this from the API documentation. Another way to actually pull this is if we head into our schema, we can search for input, which is our query. Let's actually search for, where's our input? Yeah, let's actually search for subtotal amount so we can quickly get there. So you see this, right? Every single step of the way you can actually refer to the schema.graphql. So what's happening is, in our input, you have the cart, which is over here. In cart, you have all of your attributes like the cost, and then the cart cost, which is the type. You come in here, then you have the subtotal amount, and money v2 is where you get your amount and currency code from. So if you feel like the documentations aren't up to date, you can always refer to your schema.graphql. So, there's two ways of doing it. I prefer going it this way, so we have our object set up properly. Now, in order for this to kind of work well in our src index, what we're going to do is first we're going to cd into this. So that's cd extensions and then order discount function. And now you would notice that here we have a new package.json, which has a bunch of scripts. So once we kind of update our input.graphql, we want to update our types. So we run npm run typegen. Now this is already available for you in Shopify's templates for all of the extensions, so you don't have to worry about building this on your own. Now our types are created. Let's head into src index. Now what we're going to do here is, after this, so we're not touching this configuration, we'll understand why a little later. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run our src index. Yeah, so what we're going to do here is we're going to run what we want to do. So here it's like if input. Now we usually use a question mark after every variable because there is a possibility that that variable just could not exist. So we're just telling JavaScript like, hey, we are not sure if this key value pair actually exists. So, just to be very safe about it. So that's input.cut.cost.subtotal amount, which is the decimal. So if it's more than 100, actually let's make it 500. Now you see this input actually comes in from here. So that's input cart cost subtotal, input cart cost subtotal, right? And actually we forgot to add in dot amount, which is our actual decimal amount. So if it's more than this, what I want to do is I directly want to run return a function result, which is actually discounting the entire thing. Now we know that we can actually directly just run it here. Or actually, let's first read the documentation. So in function result, it expects me to have two things. One is a discount application strategy and the other is discounts. So let's copy that. So it's return an object, which is this, and discounts. Now here's the thing. Discount application strategy will be an object, but discounts is an array. So I'm just going to start building it here itself, just so that we are very clear on how this is being built up. So let's open up discount application strategy in a new tab. So this requires a value, which is actually being set up here. So we don't actually have to make it into an object. Instead, we can just be like discount application strategy dot first, which is already kind of set up for us. But when it comes to discounts, which is again an array which we are pulling from here, let's kind of see what this has to offer. So we can have conditions, messages, target, and value. Value and targets are required. Message is a string. So let's pass a message. So this is 50% of coming from functions, right? So this is just to be very clear that this is where it's coming from. Now let's run targets, which is an array, and value, which will be an object, right? So in targets itself, let's open in a new tab. Now in targets, we create a new object with order subtotal and product variant. So order subtotal, and let's just kind of leave it blank right now. And product variant isn't really required, so we're going to skip that. Again, we are adding this in because this is required. So you kind of want to like go in and be like, okay, hey, this is what's there. Now excluded variants, I'm just going to leave it blank because we don't want to exclude anything. So let's leave it as a blank array. Now let's come back to the value. So now here we can either give a fixed amount or a percentage. So we want to give a 50% off. So that's percentage, create new object. And then it's a value, which is a decimal. So here in our value, we give 50. Whoops. And now we're going to see why it's actually crying about being an error. So this is there. Maybe I need to run typegen again. And let's reload the entire window. Maybe that would make it go away. No, we still have an issue over here. So discounts does good. Cannot find name message. Correct. I forgot to convert this into an object. That's my bad. So yeah, I mean, like these kind of errors like always keep popping up every now and then, which is like happens with everyone. So yeah, like if things go wrong, just don't worry about it. There's probably something very stupid, just like what I've done, that's going wrong. Now, one way, of course, is to always read the documentation. The other way we could have done this is by opening a function result. So here you can see that these two are available. Now, the first is discount application strategy, and the other is an array of discounts, which is again something that we are actually following over here, right? So your return should always adhere to function result. Now, that's just something that we have to adhere to. What we also could have done, let's actually comment this entire thing out. Now, again, this you kind of need to be like aware of how types work for this to actually make a lot of sense. So we could have also done is return this, and now you have autocomplete just available. So we can build this entire thing now with types. So whenever you are kind of doing this, it just makes more sense to copy this type that is somewhere available in the entire template pre-set up for you. So again, this kind of makes life very easier, because even for me, the only reason why I like TypeScript is the autofill. So we wouldn't have to actually go through the entirety of documentation if we would have just copied the type from up top. So we can just copy this in, and we're returning this, and all this is going to do is it's going to create a new percentage discount, which is of 50%. And it's going to also show the message that, hey, it's actually coming from functions. Just so that we are very clear that, okay, hey, this is coming from our functions. So this looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd back up. And of course, this is when we push it. If you're using one of my repositories, we are running this. That's se deploy. Or you can just run Shopify app deploy to push it up. So let's run npm run se deploy. And we give it a second. Yes, push changes. Now, what this is going to do is going to automatically build it for you and then push it up. So if we head back to our partner dashboard, head into extensions, we have the auto discount function. Now, you would have noticed it's already published, which means that it's already live and running. Now, what this is also going to do is in your env, it's going to add a new variable called Shopify order function discount function ID. The name of this could change based on what you have actually named it. And this ID is really necessary, and we're going to see why in a quick second. Now, because this is already live, our app is already running, the server's up. Let's actually add things to the store and check it out. So I'm going to preview this. Now, just as a reminder, we are expecting a 50% discount to show up whenever the total amount is more than 500. So let's head into a product like this. Whoops. Okay. So, oh wow. Okay, this is going to actually create an error because the value is too small. Let's take someone that's 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, add to cart. And now what's going to happen is, let's delete that. So it's 500, it's still equal to because of the way this works. When I'm at 4, it should not apply any discount, but when I'm at 6, we should have seen a discount here. Now, the reason why this is not actually working is because we haven't enabled the Shopify function just yet. So think of it in the same way as you would deal with a Shopify theme app extension. Is you can create all of the extensions, but they need to be manually added into the theme or enabled by the merchant for it to actually work. Now, if I head back to the store and if I head into discounts, create discount, you're going to see that from the functions app, we have this new entry. Now, this is great, right? Which means we click on this and it should work. But what this is going to do is it's going to take us to the app and do nothing. We haven't enabled it yet. Now, this is happening because we actually just need to run a mutation, a GraphQL mutation or a post REST query to enable this. So the first thing we're going to do is coming back into the extension, coming into the shopify.function.extension.toml. What we're going to do is in the UI parts, I'm just going to add it into the same thing. So whenever a create or a details request is made, so a create would be coming in here, create a new discount and clicking on this. So this will now take us to /discount on the app. So this is going to be your app URL /discount, right? So we're going to keep it to discount both for the time being. and we're going to quickly redeploy this with this new change done. And so while this is happening, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new discount page. And in Next.js, you're going to head into pages, click on discount.jsx. Now, all of the now because I'm using my repository, I have a bunch of snippets available that's project-wide. So doing this just kind of creates a new page. We don't need that. Let's call it function discount. All right. So here we're going to be like run mutation to add a function. Let's add a new primary footer action. Content would be run mutation. And on action, I wanted to const response equals await. So this needs to be async. And I need to pull in my use fetch. Now this is the use authorized fetch, I believe. So you can make calls to your backend. Let's actually see what this is. Yeah, authenticated fetch. So use fetch in my repositories is the wrapper around it. So you can kind of work on this much easily. What we're going to do is we're going to await fetch /API/apps, and we're going to wrap this again. Now this is the shorthand, so I don't have to kind of destructure it again. Console.log response. Now, because we know that we're not going to run into any errors here, I'm not using a try-catch block, but in all of these areas, you want to run a try-catch block, right? Okay, so now that the discount page is done, I want to create the API route for it. So that's pages, API, apps, and index. Now, what we want to do here is we want to make a new GraphQL call. Again, if you're using one of my repositories, you can just run create client GQL, creates the entire thing for you, and we can directly come on here. Now, on here, we are generating a new, so we're creating a new mutation to add in a new discount. And actually, you know what? I know what exactly I need to type, but let's actually head into the admin API GraphQL Explorer and build this. So click on Explorer, just give it a second while it kind of builds up. Okay, so we add a new mutation. Now, what we want here is a discount automatic app create. Yeah, this one. So the moment you type that in, it's gonna open up this, which is great for us because now you can just directly type it in. So for title, let's just call it functions discount. Function ID, we're just gonna call it function ID for now because we're gonna replace it as we kind of move ahead. And we also need a stats at. For this, we can just kind of type in an older value. So let's just kind of 2206, 22, 0, 0, whoops, 0, right? Now what we wanted to return is a discount ID, and you know what, let's just get in all of this stuff, right? So my mutation's ready. I can just come in here, paste it in, and now what I want to do is from my env file, I want this value, right? So we're going to get back to the API. Let's create break that, and in my function ID, I want to run process.env.my actual function ID. Now what this does is it lets you like create a new discount, which is based on this function that we just created. So this, so in the discounts area, we're going to see this happening now. Let's actually double check. So I already have notes available in the background, so I can confirm everything's working as expected. So this is automatic. Yada yada. Okay, so we're good to go. Whoops, we're good to go on this front. I'm just gonna move it a little bit so it's prettified. Okay, so now what's gonna happen is every single time this API endpoint is hit, it's gonna create a new function where the discount is immediately starting, and it's gonna use the function ID to create that function, that discount. Sorry. We've already pushed our discount. Now let's get back here. Right. Now let's head back into discounts. create a new discount. And when we click on here, it's now taking us to the app with that page on it. Now what this line is, page is doing is the moment you click on run mutation, it's just gonna create that mutation on. And we have a 200 response, which means now we're good to go. Now, usually you want to like create an entire form to let people create their own discounts, but here just for the demo's sake, we are hard coding everything. Now, getting back into discounts, we see that we have a new functions discount, which comes in from the order discounts function. It's a type of order discount, and it's coming from our functions Next.js app. Right, so we go back to the cart, we remove one from our thing, and now when we go to 6, we have a new 50% discount coming from functions. And let's kind of like add into 11, so 550 and 550, which adds up to 1100. So this is how our functions work, which means everything's working just as expected. And even on the checkout, 50% off coming from functions, which means that now you have actually understood how to create, deploy, and publish a function. Now, if you want to take it a step ahead, what you want to do here is going back to your input.graphql, you can read from meta fields. Now, here we have hard-coded 50%, but when you actually create an app around it, you want the merchant to select how much discount they actually want to give out, because there's only so many numbers you can add it in, right? So what you want to do is for every product, if you want to give out a different discount, you can add in a meta field there, read from the meta field, and in your SRC index, this value could actually come in from your meta fields. So in this case, it would be input.discount node.metafield and .value. So that way you can actually pull out the content that you want to do. So yeah, this is like a quick rundown of how you create a new Shopify functions using JavaScript. And that's about it. Yeah, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. You can always follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.com/king. This is my username. Again, all the links are down in the description. And I'll see you around for the next video. Right? Take care.